archers and nerds all at once. I am one of those skeptical of status quo.
Welcome back. I wanted to let you know about one of the tabs in the prospect database, publicly available, pinned to my Twitter timeline and my Patreon timeline, I guess they call it. Whatever. I had this in the database last year, and I took it out while I've been updating because, not to nerd out on you, but it's a little bit of a difficult thing to write. So I just wanted to take my time with it. But I'm putting it back in with the latest update, so I thought I'd point out to you how it works. Basically, the reason it's in there, it's the only tab where you can type in something and it looks something up for you. I try to create like mini apps in a spreadsheet for Patreons and the NFL database all the time. But for the public one, I want to keep it simple. I don't want a lot of live formulas in there that can be screwed up or get screwed up or confuse people. So I usually don't. But especially as much of a fake nerd as I've become, I get the comment of, what? A lot these days. And I get you. Believe me. I sit here at 3 a.m. going 1.36. I don't even know what numbers are anymore. I don't know if that's a good number. I don't know why I care that this player what? So, I too use this a lot. Sometimes I just give me the odds. Okay, just give me the number of times and the percentage that something worked out and how well it worked out. Keep the rest of it. And so that's what essentially this is. Now, it's actually in the individual tabs. But keep it simple, stupid. That's what this tab is for me. That's why I built it for myself, and then I found out other players feel just as frustrated with me as I do sometimes, and so this is useful. So I wanted to point it out to you, tell you how it works, why it's useful, why it's not, that kind of thing. Pretty short video, just hey, if you want a quick reference for players, that's what I use. So here we go. Essentially, it's called Hit Rate Lookup, which is just looking up the hit rates. I guess a fancy name, but pretty on the nose, And all you have to do is put in their name and their position. I've managed to simplify it. Last year you had to add in their team and you had to add in their breakout age, I think. This time it looks up no matter what position you're looking at. You don't have to add in anything other than the correct spelling of their name and what position you're actually looking at, and then and I'll pull it up for you. So as an example, in the wide receiver tab, I've got this little column here called average adjusted hit rate. I know, why can't things just be simple? I feel the same way, but I'm doing a lot with it, and so it's got a long name. Essentially, I'm looking up the percentage of times a player has hit with both of their different breakout ages at a 20% threshold and a 30% threshold at that draft round. And I roll it all up into one number, and that's the number in the conference tab, in the position tab. That's what that is. Now, the problem is, especially pre-draft, like right now in the 2021 class, if you're here from the future, hey, can we go to the movies again yet? Because I really want to go to the movies, and the present sucks for that. But anyway, in the meantime, it's also in the running back tab, by the way, and it's in the tight end tab, and it's in the quarterback tab. Now, the difference is I don't have breakout ages that are worthwhile for any of those positions, so it's just looking at the average hits per draft round, essentially, at 3 different production levels. How many had a top 5 season, how many had a top 12 season, how many had a top 24 season, so it's kind of rolling them all together to give you something of a more sophisticated, one might say, hit rate average than we typically see, and also you can see all the players, so you can actually filter by who those players are, and I kind of like it, okay, I kind of like it, but again, keep it simple, stupid. So sometimes, especially with my tabs, I've got like hundreds of columns, there's a lot in there, and this is a nice simple round number to look at, but sometimes you keep it simple, but I want to know where that's coming from, and that's how I use it. I want to see where that number comes from, and especially where it updates with draft capital, and like I was saying, pre-draft, we don't have draft capital, so where's that number coming from, bud? And that tab can break it down for you. If you just want to look at something, like I say, quick reference, that's how I use it. So, in the heat rate tab, I've got Mac Jones from the 2021 class in there, and also I typed in DK Metcalf and DJ Moore. Given the formatting, when they have initialized names like that, you usually have to use full stops, just a shout out, so it's D.K. Metcalf. right? Pretty difficult to figure out, but again, the correct spelling is in the tabs if you need to go check it. So with these two drafted players, because they're adjusted by draft capital as well, it's showing their conference hit rates, so the percentage of players who have been a hit. For quarterbacks and tight ends, it's having a top 12 season. For running backs and wide receivers, it's having at least one top 24 season, so the percentage of players drafted from that conference that have had at least one season at those two different levels, right? So fairly simple. And again, that's mostly a reference. If you pay attention to college football at all, you know more than that tab. Like everyone's pointing out to me, well, the Big Ten West has had good players. It's just that they've recently called themselves the Big Ten West. Great, but like I'm not going to start watching college football no matter what you say. So I just need a quick reference, and that's all it's there for. Just a reference point of where they're coming from, how often teams actually draft from there, and like that's all it is. Again, keeping it simple, stupid, and I'm fairly stupid. So with DK Metcalf and DJ Moore, you can see that they've got percentages across the board. DK Metcalf didn't break out at a 20%, 30% threshold, so you see he just gets a little dash here. And it looked it up for me. I just typed in the name, and it pulled it all up. I'll show you. DK Metcalf. Again, it's not an app. It's not fancy, but it's the best I can do with my resources, so there you go, and it's free, so hush. Anyway, so it looks up his hit rates, and then it shows you with this 20% breakout hit rate, a 90% breakout age at 20% threshold, 14% have had a top 5 season, 28% have had a top 12 season, and 33% of players drafted with that breakout age have had a top 24 season. So it literally breaks it down for you, and if you did an average of that 20% hit breakout age, you would get an average of, what is that, 25%, which is the typical hit rate you see with that breakout age. But he also has a 30% breakout age, in that he didn't do it. So how many players break out in the NFL for those 3 different types of seasons without a breakout age? And it's 15, 34, and 39. Pretty good numbers, right? Moving across, you see the hit rate for his draft round. So where was Metcalf drafted? Actually, I forget. It looked it up for me. Look, he was drafted in the second round. 10% of players drafted in the second round have... oh, you can't see because it's tiny screen. Alright, 10% of players drafted in the second round break out for a top 5 season. 26 break out for a top 12 season. 33% break out for a top 24 season. That's just based on the players in there. If there are players missing, and there are, like Adam Thielen, anyone that didn't play in the CFB isn't in there, so that's worth knowing too, if you want to get really granular on it. But all the average is the average of all those numbers, and that's what the tab's looking up. If you want to see it actually broken down, either you're just interested in draft capital because you don't believe in breakout ages, God bless you, everyone needs to be someone, right? Or you're just interested in that 20% hit rate, or how it compares to the 30% hit rate, or how those compare to breakout, to draft capital in itself. Because it lists them all next to each other, it's just pretty easy to look along and understand where that average number is coming from. And yeah, it's just a quick hit rate lookup, so you can get a decent idea of where players are coming from. And based on breakout age or draft capital for other positions and wide receiver, you can see all the hit rates. It's pretty neat. I like it. So as an example, since it's 2021, if we just grab a sample of the guys at the top of my model right now, with just copy the names so we don't have to worry about the formatting, go over to the tab, copy and paste, tell it they're all wide receivers so it can actually look it up in the appropriate tab. Look, you can see they're all undrafted because currently, right now, again, tell me what it's like in the future. God tell me it gets better. Anyway, right now they're all undrafted, so it does look up their conference, so I can see their conference hit rates. And then, again, it breaks down their breakout ages. Now, right now, where I don't have draft capital, when it has draft capital, it'll look up these hit rates adjusted for draft capital. So the percentage of players drafted in the second round with those breakout ages. Right now, I've got it written out in fancy nerd language. I mean, you can literally see the formula where it's live. It's right here at the top. It's not that hard. But it's looking up the average hit rate for players drafted in the third round. I mean, I might need to put a note in there somewhere just so you know that, in case you don't watch this video, in which case I don't know why I'm talking to you, or, you know, whatever. But it just, third round's a pretty good baseline standard. So before they're drafted, it's just going to look up the average hit rate for players drafted in the third round with those breakout ages, just to kind of give us an estimation. And so, again, you can see it broken down across all the little columns here, and this average right here, the one at the end, oh, you can't see again. There it is. This average right at the end, that's the one that's getting plugged into the tabs. So if I skip over to wide receiver, this average hit rate formula should look very similar to what it's looking up over here. Oh, actually, the average in this tab is actually it's including the conference hit rate, which I don't do in the tabs. So there's a little difference there. But if you look them up in the hit rate lookup thing here, as long as I can maintain it and the formulas don't keep getting screwed up by whoever gets in there, and I'll keep maintaining it, you can actually see the whole hit rate plethora of hit rates at least broken down. And again, players who don't have draft capital will look at the average for third round picks. If they're undrafted, it looks up the average for undrafted free agents. So that's fine. It's just the undrafted players, the players in 2021 right now, and also the 2022 class. I have some players from there in it as well. And that's the same for all the other positions. So if we want to go look at tight end, or this one's quarterback, let's go look at the 2021 class. Just grab a few names here. Plug them in. Tell them they're quarterbacks. Tell it they're quarterbacks. Sorry, I anthropomorphize them way too much. Yeah. And it looks up the hit rates, but only for their draft pedigree. And where they're not drafted yet, is just looking at the hit rates of third round picks. That's right. Which isn't particularly useful tight end, because we know these players are going to have drastically, from Justin Fields to Zach Wilson, we're going to have drastically different draft capital. But it's what we can know right now, so at least you can see the averages for generic third round picks. With wide receivers, it's a little more helpful because breakout ages are knowable right now. But again, when we get draft capital, or if you want to look at past classes, you want to punch Russell Wilson in there versus Peyton Manning, it will look up those players as well. And then you can see the way it's broken down and understand, you know, the average number of times that happens for fantasy. I think it's pretty cool. I look at it a lot, especially when I get sick of myself, and, you know, all the columns, I just want to know the percentage rates. That's how all this started. I just wanted to know the percentage of times something worked out. And then there's all these different things that you have to look at the percentage of times it always works out. And this was kind of always the dream. So I'm letting you guys know it's there. I got there, finally. I can build this thing, and you don't even have to go through everything I had to get to a point where I could do this. And we do need something that's like breakout age for running back, tight end, and wide receiver, because it would be nice to have other hit rates for those guys. But for now, that's where we're at. Yeah, check it out if you want to. Pin to my Twitter profile at Pahowdy, pin to my Patreon, and no, you don't need to give me money to get there. Everyone can go there and see that pinned tweet. And it's just where I host the link, because I need a place I can control, so no one else can delete it. And that hosts the link. It sends you to this Google Sheet, and make a copy. Have at it. Dig in. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you check out the source tab in there. Not because that's where you donate money to me, but because there are several names as well as history of where various stats were created. I didn't create any of this stuff. I'm just stubborn enough git that I will go and look it all up and put it in one place so I can do this with it. And that's it. That's my contribution. But there are also some names of the people actually collecting this data, teaching me how to collect this data and explain how and what it means, as well as like the sites that the data comes from, Sports Football Reference, like forever a fan, and lots of histories of where breakout age came from. Sean Seager at Rotoviz invented it. Who knew? Who knew? I do now, and you can as well. And also I linked to the article if you want to read what the origins of breakout age. So it's a pretty useful tab, but mainly I want you to go check that one out, because those guys, like, I'm in the video, and but they're not, but they're the wizards that, you know, they deserve a follow at least. I really appreciate it. If you could check them out, and, you know, just insult me on Twitter, and we're good. We're good, fam. That's what this costs. But I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for checking it out. If you did, if you didn't, why am I talking to you? Again, why am I talking to people that aren't here all the time? I'm going to get out of here. Thanks again, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.
Do you have the time?